Juma Mubarak waaye tamit ñu wax leen déwénati mbokk yi ñu ngi leen di nuyu beneen yoon fii ci Africa TV ñu war mbégte lool dellusiwaat tey ci suba si la gannaaw korité démba ñu ñaanal leen jàmm bu baax a baax xam ngeen ne démba lañ dal di julli ci fu ne ci àdduna bi ñu ñaanal leen jàmm nuyu leen tamit fi ngeen mënta nekk ci biir réew mi bi ci biti réew xam ngeen ne saa yu nekk bu waxtu bi jotee ñu ñëw ñu ànd ak yéen ci li nga xamante ne mooy programme bi ngeen taamu te ngeen miin ko lool di Good Morning Africa programme bi fii ci Africa TV. di leen baal ak di leen wax déwénati beneen yoon di baalal ñëpp ak di wax ne yàlla nañu yàlla boole jéggal yàlla nangul ñu suñuy ay jaam lépp lu jàmm ci weeri koor gi yàlla nangu ko waaye tamit nangu ñaan yokku jàmm ci réew mi tamit yokku naataange waaye tamit comme gars yi ni ñu ko waxee ak tamit may ñu la ñooy def si poos bi ndax loolu tamit am na solo bu baax a baax ñaanal leen jàmm I hope ne yéen yëpp am ngeen a very good korité celebration tey of course ci biir réew mi of course xam naa ne tey bési liggéey la te ñu bëri war nañoo dem génn ci dem liggéey because comme ni ñu ko waxee woon public holiday bi barki démb ak démb la woon waaye nag dëkk bi xal na sedda tuuti yëngu-yëngu bi bariwul jamono si suba si waaye ñu bari xam naa ne démba teelu ñoo tedd ndax korité bi ak yu mel noonu ay Afrique démba sax joxoon leen spécial korité bu am solo ñu nuy ñi ci jàpp yëpp ba loolu ngeen mun a enjoy korité bi su ko defee tey incha allah gannaaw loolu ñu dellusiwaat ci liggéey bi ak tamit ci programme bi ñu war ci indi waxtaan yu am solo ci li nga xamante ne jotoon na fay jaar ci ay xibaar ci ay message ci biir korité bi ak tamit mu nekk lu am solo ñu def ci taxaw seetlu ci yenn ci waxtaan yooyu nañ ci seet li nga xamante ne mooy njiiti réew mi président Barrow kaddu bi nga xamante ne jot na ko wax ak Gambien si lan lañ ci mën a déggee ci ni mu ko waxee xam ngeen ne at mi atum élection la waaye tamit am na yu bari yi nga xamante ne mu ngi xew ci réew mi dellusiwaat na ci moom président Barrow nañ ci ñëwaat ci kanam tuuti waaye tamit nañ wax ci yeneen xibaar lu aju ci wàllum koor gi ba léegi njiitali UDP di lawyer Ousainou Darboe moom tamit joxe na message loolu tamit nañ leen ko diktat suñu ay xibaar nañ ci toftal yeneen comme ni ñu koy defee ñu dalal tamit kenn ci plateau bi ñu war a waxtaan ak moom ci xew-xew korité bi kon ni ma ko waxee surtout ci message yi jàll ci kilifay réew mi loolu nañ ci def taxaw seetlu ab tuut ñu def ci jàngat tuuti. Well, viewers, again welcome to another, of course it's the week's ending edition of the Good Morning Africa program live on Africa TV, and of course we are from the Korité, we are still in the Korité celebration mood, so happy Korité to all of you out there wherever you might be. I hope you had a very good one, a very good celebration or Eid al-Fitr celebration. So we are back again to continue what we have been doing. Of course, that is the program, as you know, and we're going to bring you some very interesting discussion this morning. Of course, give you some very interesting report as well related to the Korité Feast celebration messages, and President Barrow delivered a message, to the Gambians in observance of the Fitr celebration. We would, of course, digest part of his message, especially in matters of security and other issues as well. But of course, not only President Barrow, the UDP leader also delivered a message. We will also bring you that, as you might have already heard in our yesterday's news bulletins. And we also going to touch on some very other pressing or pertinent matters happening in the country, and by saying we are going to digest or look at the message of the president, not the message as well. That means I would be having somebody joining me any moment from now to look at that. So this and more coming ahead in today's edition. Once again, thank you so very much for joining us wherever you are. Once again, happy Korité, Devenati, and we will now get straight to our fourth story this morning. And we start with matters of Korité, of course, because before the feast of Korité, Muslims who possesses food in excess of their required to pay the zakat al-fitr. The head of the household can also pay the zakat for their dependents, such as children, servants, and any dependent relative. Now, the minimum amount due is the equivalent of about 2 kilograms of rice or other staple foodstuff per member of the household. By the end of this year's month of fasting, the Federation of Gambia Muslim Youth took up the challenge to gather this charity for the distribution to deserving members of the committee. And here's more details of that in this report.
As Muslims observe the feast marking the end of the month of fasting, they do so with the payment of the zakat of breaking the fast done before the Korité feast. It is also called Sadaqatul Fit, the charity of breaking the fast of Ramadan, because it is a mandatory charity due on every Muslim regardless of age or gender. In the Gambia, the share of every member of the family is historically given to the neighbor or taken to the newest imam or community leader for owned distribution to those who need it most. However, the growing complexity in the process owing to the high number of people in need, Islamic organizations are including zakat distribution as part of their operational services for the communities they serve. The Federation of the Gambia Muslims Youth took up the challenge to collect from its members across the country the 2021 Zakatul Fitr, which it distributed to those who would have not enjoyed the quality feast due to lack of means to put food on the table. Khalifa Damfa, social service coordinator of Figami, hailed the commitment of their members for giving out the compulsory charity through his management.
We have given an Zakatul Fitr to the needy family today. That is obligatory for every Muslim, that the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ says, Zakatul Fitr is a Sunnah al-Wajiba, that comes from the Prophet. So if you have that one, you can give it to the needy. That is why we give it to the needy today. We give it open. Our members are in every corner. So we inform our members if anybody knows someone who is in need, actually in need, but you can inform us to give that one, not what you think that you are going to make it as a friendship or relationship, but as far as Islam is concerned, we are all from the same blood. Yeah, we give it to 24 people today. Each has gone back home with a 25 kg rice.
The Federation of Gambia Muslim Youths came up as a combination of the Assembly of Gambia Muslim Youths and Federation of Gambia Muslim Students Organization into one new body. As Mohamed Ka, Secretary General of FIGAMI, speaks to iAfrica, the organization seeks to represent all Muslims youth to bring mutual understanding and collaboration among them. He noted from the limitation from reaching out to all needy persons across the country with the 2021 Charity of Ramadan, calling on more people to join in the humanitarian venture.
This is the plan. It started with those two institutions, those two organizations, but the doors are still open. Currently, we are serving as an interim body, as an interim executive to handle the affairs of the organization for the next 12 months. Inshallah, we are hopeful that would motivate other organizations, youth organizations, to come so we can be under one umbrella. And the works we are doing, alhamdulillah, it's so impactful. But I believe if we do it together as one body, it makes it more impactful. We are not here to compete with any organization, as we said in the launching, but this is Islam. Islam is all about unity. So if we can do our little efforts, I believe we can do it as one body, which is going to be more beneficial and more impactful for the Ummah, inshallah.
Zakatul Fitr came into existence as an obligatory alms, making the end of month of fasting in the second year of Hijrah, otherwise migration of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Medina. The obligation to pay the zakat coincides with God's commandment for Muslims to memorialize the beginning of the Qur'an to the Prophet some 15 years before. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
All right, Mariama Cham reporting there, and of course that's a good one from, of course, there's that organization there. Of course, Zakat al-Fitr is one of the requirements for Muslim, to do by the end of the month of fasting. Of course, so it's helping the needy and supporting each other in such a very crucial and, of course, important moment is really very common. And we say, bravo, thank you very much to the, for that support from the FEGAMI administration, job well done. Su ko defee rek loolu mu nekk lu am solo am ngeen ne jamono buñ tolloo ci jamono korité wala ci événement jullit yi lu mel nii dañ koy faral di gis dimbalante bi jàppalante bi nga xamante ne gis nañ ko mu am waaye nag lii surtout lii mu nekk lu am solo gis neen tamit ci biir weeru koor bi naka la Gambien si taxawante suñ biir dimbalante mu nekk acte bi nga xamante ne lu ñu war a mën a rafetlu la ci réew mi ñu tamit encourage ñi ko yàlla munloo ñi gën koo def bu baax xam ne ni sax ñu ngi koo def waaye ñaax leen ci rek te tamit xam ne li yàlla gërëm la comme kilifa yi nuñ ko waxee ak borom xam-xam yi dimbalante moom yàlla ci yàlla ci boppam moom moo ko digle su ko defee def loolu day am solo bu baax a baax surtout ñuy gestu ñi nga xamante ne daanaka loxo jotul seen gannaaw loolu day am solo bu baax a baax te lii si la bokk surtout nag si jamono bi nga xamante ne génne muudum koor comme ni ñu ko waxee lu war la ci bépp jullit surtout ñi nga xamante ne jiite ay njaboot léegi jafe-jafe day bari lool waaye bu lii lu mel ni bu amee ndimbal yu mel ni ci réew mi foog ñu gërëm ñi ko def surtout ay ndaw ñu taxaw diine taxaw pour jàppale tamit ñi nga xamante ne mooy jullit ci réew mi surtout ci jamono korité bi ñu gërëm leen bu baax wax ne loolu dafa am solo su ko defee nañ continuer ba léegi ci jotaay bi ci xibaar yi la ñoo desandi we'll move on to our next story. Of course we will do more reports related to the Korite activities, but before we do that, we will cross borders and report on something that is also making headlines around the world, making everyone talking at this moment. That is the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. Now, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has called for de-escalation in the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. Now, more than 50 Palestinians, including children, are reported dead since the launch of multiple strikes with fighter jets by the Israel's Air Force targeting what it described as locations linked to Hamas groups. And here's more details of that in this report by Amindao.
Speaking at a joint news conference with Russian Foreign Minister in Moscow on Wednesday, the UN chief highlighted the importance of respecting international law and committing to dialogue in response to escalating conflicts in the Middle East. Mr. Guterres said efforts to foster unity and peaceful coexistence among people has been eroded by the growing division.
At this time of growing global divisions, respect for international law and the commitment to dialogue are more important than ever to maintain international peace and security, protect the health, welfare and dignity of people around the world, and guide collective action. Trust is an essential prerequisite for collective action, but it has been eroded by growing divisions.
Reports indicate that residents in Gaza are bracing for more devastation as militants fire one barrage of rockets after another and Israel carries out waves of bone-rattling airstrikes, sending plumes of smoke rising into the air. Since Monday, Israel has toppled 3 high-rise buildings that is said to be house Hamas facilities after warning civilians to evacuate. The UN boss pointed out that unity within the UN Security Council is also crucial to solving the situation in the Middle East and other regional crises.
Unity of the Security Council is very important in relation to the Middle East, as in relation to all other crises that we are facing at the present moment all over the world, be it in Afghanistan or Libya or Yemen or Syria. It's very important, and more the members of the Security Council come together in order for international law to prevail and everybody to abide by it.
According to Guterres, the United Nations is committed to promoting all forms of dialogue to de-escalate tensions and revitalize the peace process in the Middle East. He also calls for the protection of the lives of civilians who are being killed in what they call unacceptable circumstances. Families have been holding funerals for some of the 83 people in Gaza and 7 people in Israel who have been killed since Monday. Gaza's Health Ministry said the death toll has climbed to 83 Palestinians, including 17 children and 7 women, with more than 480 people wounded. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
Well, this is what makes everyone talking at this moment. Of course, Amindao reporting there on the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. And of course, the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, calling for de-escalation. Like many other leaders and head of government around the world has been, of course, encouraging both parties to restrain from the ongoing violence, which have led to the killing of many people, including children and women in Palestine, of course, in Israel as well. The situation is deteriorating, and there are many, destructions, massive destruction that have also took place during the since on Monday, I should say. And of course, this have led to a lot of reactions around the world as to how, what could be done to make sure that the situation is brought under control. because apparently the way the things are unfolding, it's not looking good, and it's really disturbing, one could say. So I only hope that the global leaders, people that could step in and do what is expected, would do that in the soonest possible time. But yeah, it's one thing to condemn, but it's another thing to act as well, and to make sure, making sure that the violence would cease, as quickly as possible, because a lot of people are really suffering right now from both ends. It's really something else. Su ko defee rek comme ni ngeen ko gisee noonu boobu xew-xew bi la ci fale ci Israel ak Palestine mu nekkal li nga xamante ne mooy li doy waar àdduna bi yëpp di ko ñaawlu, te tamit di ki nga xamante ne mooy UN secrétaire général bi moom moo dal di génn di wax ne gars yi nañ wàññi li nga xamante ne mooy li fa nekk di xew mooy xeex bu ñoo xeex ñu bari li ci rôle, surtout ay xale ak ay jigéen ñu ci faatu di ñàkk seen bakkan, waaye gis nañ tamit yàqu-yàqu bu ci am mu nekk li nga xamante ne mooy li doy waar, ñu bari mettel ko ci àdduna si tamit. waaw su ko defee nag moom wax na, waaye kon niñ ko waxee wax bi leneen la, waaye pour acte tamit ba gis ne ñu wax ak ñaari sides si yëpp, mooy ñaari côté yëpp, pour ñu déglu bañ a continuer ci jafe-jafe yi nit ñi di ñu fa nekk di dundee jamono ji, mu nekk li nga xamante ne mooy li am solo. waaye nag comme niñ koy adduna bi yëpp gisee right now lu fay xew doy na waar, tamit métti na torop ci gis-gis ak ci dundin. waaw su ko defee ñu ñaan rek yàlla moom mi nga xamante ne moom mooy borom baat mi ñu ñaan ko mu mu fexe wala sax mu may ñu ba jàmm dellu si foofu ak fu ne ci àdduna bi fi nga xamante ne jafe-jafe mu ngi faa am, parce que tamit jàmm lañ soxla fu ne, waaye surtout luy xew jamono ji foofu ci Gaza mooy diggante Israël ak Palestine mu nekk lu doy waar. waaw su ko defee ñu wéy gannaaw loolu ñu dellusiwaat ci réew mi, waxoon nañ leen ko, nañ waxtaan ci li aju ci wàllum korité ak message yi nga xamante ne kilifa yi joxe nañ ko ci jullit bi, wax ak Gambien si ñaax leen ci yu bari, nañ ci ñëwaat, waaye nañ ñu yegsi si loolu balaa ñëw ci président Barrow moom li mu wax ak Gambien si, ñu doore ko ak njiitale UDP di Ousainou Darboe, su ko defee ñu sooga nag ñëw ci kanam ci président Barrow. We would move on, and of course from that reporting what is happening currently in between Israel and Palestine, like you heard from the report, or if you watch there, the UN Secretary General calling for de-escalation from both sides. Now we'll come back home and report on the messages of, from political parties and others, including the UDP leader, in observance of the Corité celebration. Now, the Secretary General and leader of the United Democratic Party, lawyer Ousainou Darboe, has cautioned leaders in the country to refrain from giving rhetoric that would bring division among Gambians as presidential elections draw nearer. He calls on Gambians to make informed choices in selection of leaders based on transparency, emphasizing the right to vote. And here's more details of that by Omar Ahmad Toure.
Leader of the opposition party takes advantage of his Corité message to enjoin Gambians to continue their sense of generosity, respect for one another, and tolerance. He says time is prime for his fellow citizens to celebrate unity that binds them together and deviate from issues that would bring division.
Those of us in leadership positions should eschew rhetorics that fund polarization. A competitive plural democracy should not be divisive. We can vigorously contest each other's ideas and plans and lay them before the Gambian people, whose mandate we seek without devaluing our competitors or the public discourse.
Darboe urges citizens to use conscience and vision in selecting their leaders and support the process of free, fair, and transparent elections.
We are only 204 days away from a defining and consequential national elections, the first since the birth of the new Gambia in 2016. The Gambian people will again have an opportunity to choose among the clear and contrasting candidates and visions. It is the responsibility of every citizen to engage fully in the entire process that is free, fair, and transparent from registration to voting.
Ahead of the December polls for the presidency, lawyer Darboe opines that fairness in the registration will validate the rest of the electoral processes.
Only, and I emphasize, only qualified citizens should be registered legally at home and abroad, that candidates and campaigns would engage voters as stipulated by law, and that polls would be conducted freely and fairly. We must all strive to make the elections about the Gambian people and their urgent priorities.
The Eid al-Fitr, also known as the Feast of Korite, is an auspicious Muslim festival which is celebrated globally to mark the end of Ramadan. People wear festive clothes, prepare delicious food, and give charity from the very day to a few days later. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Omar Ahmadu Toure.
All right, Omar Ahmad Toure reporting there as lawyer Hussein Dabo, the UDP leader, speaks to Gambians, send a message to Gambians in observance of the Eid al-Fitr, and of course they have urged leaders to restrain from sending out messages that could bring divisions among Gambians as we get close to December, presidential elections. As we all has been saying, it's an election year in the Gambia, in 2021, crucial, decisive, whatever you want to call it, whatever time you want to use, if you like. But then it's also important that we had such kind of messages from our leaders. We need that unity, we need that peace, we need that cohesion among Gambians, despite whatever it is, it's election. There will be a lot of talks, but it's a good one from Dabo, Musainu, Honorable, of course, reminding the leaders of their responsibilities. But of course, he went on to also to challenge Gambians to choose their leaders, of course, based on transparency, and of course not in other terms, maybe, as others may perceive or say. So it's good that we consider how we, choose leaders. The choice of leadership we want depend on the people that we think are the right people to lead this country, and that will only happen if we equate things and look at very well, scrutinize if you like. Listen to people who, would promise, of course, I would say, because you might not know what's going to happen after they come in power, but then it's always we balance and the narratives and then choose the one we think is the right for the nation. It's more than 50 years now. We are close to 60 years somehow, 56, 55 years old as a country. So we have a long way to go. But of course, December would hopefully be another very interesting moment for Gambians. So there you go. We would stay with matters of the Korite messages, because after we heard from Honorable Dabo, we would of course move on to hear from the President, that's His Excellency President Adama Barrow. He also delivered a message on observance of the Korite and speak to Gambians. And as Muslims observe the Holy Feast of Eid al-Fitr on Thursday, President Adama Barrow noted in his address to the nation some of the security lapses that concerns his government. Now, the small West African nation is currently exposed to a series of crimes that has instilled fear of insecurity to many, following several reports of killings and other related criminal activities. And here is more of that in this report by Sohna Tunkara.
Crimes such as killing, theft, and kidnapping and robbery are noticeably lifting head in the Gambia, especially under the new government. Police have taken the habit of issuing safety tips mainly to save women and children, who are the most vulnerable and most victimized in any scenario. Although the issue of organized crime is not prominent in the discourse, it nevertheless presents a serious concern for the public, following a noticeable wave of criminal operations, irrespective of the time in the day or night. President Barrow took note of the situation as a threat to the historic perception of Gambia as the smiling coast of Africa.
As we all know, peace and stability form the bedrock for development. It is regretted, therefore, that there have been disturbing reports of domestic violence in our communities and criminal acts of drug abuse, theft, destruction of property, and other forms of crimes. These crimes pose a threat to peace and stability, and can hamper our development efforts.
In 2020 alone, for example, more than 10 cases of killings were recorded, as per media reports, some of which remain in police files without resolution, despite various mechanisms implemented by the security sector in coping the current fragile situation. Unfortunate incidents continue to spark public discord across the country. The president opined that his government's efforts are being taken for granted in maintaining the accolade the country is well known for.
In the past 4 years, my government has consistently promoted freedom and other democratic values that would bring back our smiles in a peaceful and stable environment. Unfortunately, some people are taking these values for granted and are conducting themselves in ways that undermine our security. Disregard for the rule of law is disruptive. As a result, I ask all citizens and residents of the country to act responsively in order to advance peace and development.
Critics are of the prediction that criminal activities are likely to occur more frequently than ever before if stringent measures are not enforced. These, according to them, will be partly due to the weak security response to crimes. Police stations are mounted in almost every community in the Gambia. However, they lack the ability to offer a rapid response to crisis due to lack of proper training and equipment, among the list of challenges. For Africa News, Sohna Tunkara.
All right, Sohna Tunkara reporting there, and this is part of what President Barrow have, the message he sent out to Gambians during the, of course, during the Quality celebration. That is the message from the president. Of course, he spoke at length. He touched on other issues, but of course, security is paramount. In every country. So we felt the need to bring this matter on board so we can discuss with on it or about it as well. And of course, we're going to look at some of the points the president have highlighted in his speech with regards to security in this country. And as you may know, of recent, the issue of security has been a hot cake in town. Many Gambians has been discussing about the current state of the security state in the country. A lot of alleged killings and other things that has been happening in this country. So I'm glad to say, joining me this morning to discuss more on this is our senior, how would I introduce him? Sometimes I find it difficult now, what time I use, but journalist and senior editor, of course, Ibrahim Presba, to join me so we can discuss this at length this morning. Mr. Ba, good morning, and thank you very much for having you this morning in Good Morning Africa, GMA, as you funny call it. Huh?
So it's my pleasure to be here. You are doing a very good job, and I'm inspired. So this morning it is a pleasure to really be here and discuss on the subjects that concerns the Korite feast.
Exactly. Thank you very much. It's always good to have you as well. Yes, President Barrow spoke to Gambians on the Korite celebration, and of course, like I said, the message touched on several issues related that is happening in this country. But security, as you know, it's key in any development or in any country. He spoke about the state of security in this country, highlighted some pertinent issues. But so that if I ask, what is your reading of the president's message on security matters of the country currently?
Yeah, it is an absolute message because this is a period when Gambians have a lot to take home from the leadership, be in those in the government and those in the opposition. So Korite is one of the moments when really every Gambian is listening to their leaders. So the messages of tolerance, unity, peace are being sounded over and over, and this is the normal tradition.
Indeed.
So this year is no exception. So President Barrow really gave a lengthy speech in looking at the subject matters discussed, and he chose specifically to talk on security. In that aspect, we can see the president promising to address the security matters. So that is the preamble he gave to his message, that he cannot complete his speech without addressing the issue of security. So hearing that, you will be hopeful that, okay, the president is really coming to address a very powerful and issue of public concern. And all of a sudden, he really chose certain scenario. He did mention the issue of Sanyang and some instances of killings. So he did the journalist work by narrating the events or giving a summary of what the State House has noted when it comes to security.
So, that relatively showing that, I mean, he telling Gambian he's aware of what is happening.
He is really, that is the point. He is aware, and then not only is he aware, but he is noting his concern. So at this point in time, he is more of a private citizen who reads the news and say that this is really not the Gambia I knew before, and actually goes further to tell us what the news has been saying. So it is more of a GMA program in that aspect, but looking at his preamble to the introduction of security issue, he said he cannot complete, he really could not complete his speech without addressing the security matters in this country. So every citizen at that point in time will tactically sit back and watch their TV with hope that the issue is being addressed.
Interesting, and that goes to say, was there anything that you heard from the message that predicts that there is something the president have said that it seems to show the government really need to address this, the current situation, as he highlighted in his speech, the security concern?
Yeah, if I was to say a thing around that, is the fact it's going to be the issue of how the president projected the case of Sanyang riot. And then he is concerned that Gambians, according to him, can take the law into their own hands in relation to the burning of the Sanyang police station. But here there is a need to give the issue a context, because the burning of the station happened, and then he said dislocation of people who have been earning or making businesses in the community of Kombo Sanyang happened, but what causes all of it should have been also known. So in the view of the president, he did not go that far. So somebody who is fresh to these issues will feel like the issue is really aggravated, and then it's more of an exaggeration from the president to think that really things are out of hand, because we know the youth of Sanyang really did what they did because something happened. One of their members died, was killed allegedly, and police was there to address the situation. So how does the president now come to confirm that it was taking law into their hands? So is that an investigation or an investigation from the police? Because the police came up and then made some arrests. So one would expect that it is either the court decision that will confirm that law was really taken into hand, or maybe an investigative panel came up with a report. So, you know, these are complex issues that, you know, you need to give a bit of context. And then it was more of a journalistic story from the president than, you know, a statesman addressing issue of security according to the way he promised to address the issue.
Exactly, and that's in a way, someone might say, of course, the president have informed Gambians that he is aware of their concern, and of course highlighting that in the speech, of course mentioning Sanyang as an example, of course, in the, like you said, that again would go on to say, like I said, he have highlighted the concern, but realistically, I mean, did he present any action of plan, or plan of action, I should say, from his side of government to make sure that, yes, we know these are the problems, these are what is happening, but this is what we're going to do at the level of state, at the level of government, to make sure that we remedy or bring an answer to your concerns?
Yeah, actually, what the president did in regards to the security issue was to really appeal to the Gambian. It's more of a persuasive method, that is to convince Gambian, which is very right of him to say Gambians really need to listen to him, need to listen to his government, that Gambia is a peaceful country. So, but that is not just enough. What would government do if people choose not to listen?
Yeah.
So we would have expect the president to go further to say plan A, B, or C are in place to make sure that whoever doesn't or is found wanting, that is what is going to happen. So he did not push that agenda much in his speech, but he really mentioned the police operation, that is the zero crime, and then you will realize that the police as an institution has been updating the public about the night patrols, the arrest, and the cases that they are dealing with. But in fact, the president could have gone further too to describe what is zero crime, because we know the police are giving information and updates more of every fortnight. But what is really zero crime? Because critics have been saying that this zero crime or joint patrol team of the police is a replica or revival of the bulldozer that was in place during the Jammeh period. And that the name of a bulldozer is not really a good one if you are following the Gambia TRRC, the Truth Commission. So at least there could have been a bit of context or definition as to why the police are doing what they are doing, or how they are going to use the zero operation to achieve total security, as it is a concern for every Gambian today.
All right, very well. That seems to say, goes on to say also, maybe the president could have at least, go that much far to, explicitly explain what his government, is ready, of course, would do in terms of the situation. But still on the matter, Press, of course, the president, in his words, I quote, says, "My government has constantly promoted freedom and other democratic values that would bring back, I quote, our smiles in a peaceful and stable environment. But unfortunately, some people are taking advantage of these values for granted and are conducting themselves in ways that undermine our security."
Very well. This was a notable point from the speech of the president, that because he brought about democracy, or his government is encouraging democracy, people are taking advantage of that. Yes, the point to note here, people have every right to enjoy their democracy. But then that doesn't mean that the government should put all trust on the people and do nothing. That is not the point. As much as you provide democratic dispensation, you do your best as a government, but have your backup. Let's use the Sanyang police. We are talking about this Sanyang case because the president mentioned this in particular. It shows that it is an important case. So police station was burned, but I was in the front line reporting from day one for iAfrica TV about the riot. So when the incident started, it was not as massive as it happened later in the day. So the burning happened actually, but it was only one police officer on the ground trying to extinguish the fire on the police station, trying to put out the fire. So what is the emergency, contingent of the police? The report by Sohna right now mentioned that police hardly respond adequately due to maybe lack of training in her research in the story, or maybe lack of material. This is absolute. So a police station cannot be built just for the mere building of a police station in a large coastal town like Sanyang.
Indeed, absolutely.
So when the burning happened, it started with a small spark. A fire extinguisher could have put out that fire without having to wait and then let all the documents, all the court files, case files are all damaged. So yes, the youth are wrong for attempting to burn the police station, but this is a crisis situation. Even iAfrica van was, hijacked at some point in time. Reporters were at risk. So it took time before we took our measures and then survived in the report on the ground there. So no one was safe. Crime situation is supposed to be well factored by the police. But then it happened. So you don't say I have democracy
I am teaching. In fact, how many people understand the ideals of democracy? Some people think that it is a matter of speaking, say whatever you want. Some people think it is a matter of having choice to do whatever you want. So the service of informing people, the civic education is not to that extent where a government can sit back and relax to say that we have provided the institutions of democracy, we are giving the spirit of democracy to the country, and we will relax. If you relax, you are selling out your country to fire.
Absolutely. In that context also, he have, call on citizens to be act responsibility. And one may wonder, we will ask, is the government also acting responsibility in this process? Talking about the situation of democracy that we just talked about.
Absolutely. One would doubt. It is debatable, but it is fair for government or the president to always ask people to act responsibly. This is important because someone somewhere could always be there to listen to and then adopt to the messages. This is fine. However, but government should also be seen doing something. So you can't, there are a lot of incidents where police could have, just the mere presence of the police could have averted them. So where are the police? What is taking them time to reach or respond on the spot when crimes are cooking up?
Absolutely.
So if that is not addressed, I think I will agree with you that the government has a challenge of being responsible, despite the fact that it is advocating for democracy. In fact, the mere advocacy of democracy without, putting things in order is more risky than, living in a dictatorship, because here everybody feels free. Everyone feels free, can do whatever they want. This is serious.
Yeah. All right, indeed it's serious, and that's why we felt the need to extensively or somehow discuss about this matter, as highlighted by the President in his message. All right. Now, President, I know you, of course, will move on to some other issues, but just probably lastly, before we get on, because he also talked about the issue of, business in this country, and, Gambians has been also concerned of that, of the price of food, commodities, and all that. We'll get to that. But before we do, again, now, the President have taken the opportunity in this very period of celebration to speak to Gambians and, calls for responsibility. And of course, he have indicated that his government is aware of the current situation, of course, of the security of the country. Now, listening to the President, would one conclude that this was the kind of message we have expected from the President to tell Gambians with regards to security, or he could have, let's go beyond what he have said to make sure that, Gambians would be more believe that this is now the government is ready to do more than they have been doing. Of course, there are efforts that have been done, as he highlighted, by the police and the crime or zero crime campaign, but yes, still the crimes are happening in this country. Hardly a week passes by without hearing an action of alleged, killing or theft or whatsoever.
Yeah, very well, Amadou, because I don't expect the President's message to satisfy every section of the community, because it is a whole country, and then you given the limited time to do the message, so the President can only prioritize. So the discussion will also center on what the President chooses to be a priority for now. And in the business aspect, he expressed concern about the prices and the kind of how business is going on in the country. But I think with respect to COVID-19, there are policies that the government, through various departments, adopted to help the situation. Some tax waivers were given. That is, the Gambia Revenue Authority in March announced the tax waiver for food importers, food imports in the country, because of the COVID-19. This is a very good policy message that the President could have capitalized on. This is a time to inform the public about the good sides of your government as well as the challenges. So I was wondering what is stopping the President from getting updates from various technicians, various departments that are doing really great for the country in view of COVID-19 to present it before the public. So it is it a missed opportunity? Not absolutely 100%, but I think there are some good policies, and one would expect that, from every sector, including education, President could have been in a position to even give statistics of the total presence or attendance as of last week before the closure of schools and universities. So this is how a government works. But sometimes if you rely too much on the updates you expect from the presidency, all of a sudden you see more of a journalistic report, you would wonder what type of message is this. However, like I said, it is a complex situation, and then we have to notice the expectations and then measure them with what the president has really said.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you're very right. Because I mean, at this point also, with this issue of business and food commodities price rocketing or whatever, everybody blames the government, that the government need to do something. The government should help the people. People are suffering, and you are knowing that the government in a way have, you know, instituted some measures that could, you know, remedy the situation in a way, especially when COVID hits the wall, and of course Gambia also was not an exception in this case. So the government felt the need to waive some of the tax and in some of the food commodities and all that. So like you said, it seems as a missed opportunity. And again, with what the president have said, again, Gambians, do you think would feel that, again, this is here we had from our president something that could give us hope of the situation would change anytime soon?
Actually, hopes will never be lost, because for the president to address the nation, it takes time. So whenever the president has to address the nation, people need to know why.
And this is a president that don't speak so often.
He don't easily comes to the TV.
He easily comes
to the people.
And
maybe he should, you know, adopt to come into Africa and then
why not?
Like GMA and continue having engagement direct with the people. So it's something he could do, because looking at you are aware of his engagement with the Banjul elders. So it's like more of a session where the president might not have time to go to town, but when people comes to you, it's like the social bantaba, bantaba, the public gathering where you chat and hear from people. So that is the presidency. Once you are on this seat, you are no more a private citizen. You don't just have private life, but the media is one of the areas where, or the places where he could always pass the message. And then whenever the president is passing a message, he is just maybe the striker, the goal scorer. So the whole team in the field is working for you, passing you just for you to do the finishing.
He's the Messi or the Ronaldo, if you like.
Absolutely. Or maybe the Cisse.
Absolutely.
Jato Sinda and the absolutely. So this is the message. So now he got it, and then he have delivered. So he have nothing to apologize. He feel, okay, I have done the job. But again, you can only speak. The recipients of the information have right to subject it to their understanding, which we are here to help the public to really contextualize what the president said. So what happened? What is happening in the government? The updates coming from directly from the president is the best method and approach for the president to do than just repeating what we have been reporting, because all the messages that we report in the news daily, we know them. The public, they are in the public domain. But in response to the concerns that the public is raising every day, what is the government doing in terms of policy, in terms of action, in terms of, mobilization of resources in response or plans? Anything that is really directed to respond public demand is what the president can really give people on occasions like Eid, because it is not an easy occasion. It is not always frequent for you to have, that platform to speak. So when you have it, take advantage and then, make sure that, all your technicians are at work. Let them give you the message. You tell us, what is really happening in the government.
Well, very well. I only hope the president did not miss what the commentators would say, a golden or a glorious opportunity. The goal was at his mercy. But anyway, that's something else. But we will just have to round it up quickly. Time is not on our side. But then, it's election year. The president also could not have missed that opportunity, talking maybe on election and all that. And of course, we heard from the UDP leader also, Dabo, calling for unity, calling leaders of political spy or maybe leaders to refrain from messages that could bring divisions among Gambians. In terms of the message from the president also in election matters, what's your view on that? And of course, you heard from Dabo as well. I think these are crucial moments. December is just coming in very close, and everybody's talking about election. So people were saying, where the Korbilan don't have Mujay, and then everything would start maybe any moment from now. So what's your own reading of?
Yeah,
also?
this is important. I can notice uniformity in the body speech of opposition UDP leader lawyer Dabo, who called for unity and then urged for responsible leadership. And then the presidency, President Barrow also sounded similar sentiments to say that people should be careful and then don't accept to be divided because of on political lines. So these are very good messages, and they are assuring, they are also giving Gambians the hope that, okay, our leaders are really in for peace. They want to ensure that free, fair, and transparent election. Where they did not go is to how would this be achieved? Well, on the government side, what is the role of government in making sure that reforms are, attained? So we know of electoral build before the National Assembly since 2020. It is still a stalemate. So engagements are being made as to how the voting process will be conducted. The candidates, how would they be selected? The entire voting process needs to be redefined or be amended.
Maybe this is an opportunity where he could have also said, this is what the government is doing. We are working closely with the IEC and make sure that we provide the necessary, whatever is necessary, the finances or logistic support or whatever, to make sure that we have a very free and fair election. And of course, the issue of diaspora voting is also in the balance. So he could have also taken this opportunity to explain the government position in this, so that everybody would know. Because
this would have been very important, because you remember the Minister of Finance before the National Assembly responded to National Assembly's concern as to the issue of diaspora voting. So the response was government did not budget it. It was not budgeted, and there might not be enough funds to cater for diaspora voting. So since then, reactions have been coming, and people don't seem to be satisfied with this issue. So why not it be clarified again? So like you said, it would have been very good for the president to give more of context to what the finance minister say about no budget. But it is possible to extend. Isn't it possible to get money from any other place? So what money is needed? How much? For what? So hopefully maybe the president is satisfied with the response of the finance minister. But an update can always help when it comes to addressing the nation.
All right. So I think generally, like you said, the President has spoken about so many things in his statement, so we wouldn't have time to look at everything in this short time. But I think we have at least done, justice on some of the issues, especially what press have to bring on board. Such a very, good response from what I've been asking on the president's statement. Just in conclusion, press, now the president has spoken to the Gambians. He talked about security, business, election, of course, December not far here. Would you expect anything to change in between here against December? Of course, the chance to come at maybe the situation. Maybe for those people who always want to, the violate, who's of course, or the people who always are there to cause crimes and chaos and all whatnot, maybe would realize now the president has spoken and we should be careful. Would we expect, or should we expect anything to change now, in the country?
Yeah, traditionally this is fine. Gambians are satisfied with when elder speaks. That is the tradition. When you advise a Gambian, he listens in the name of peace to say that, okay, we are one family. It is a very small community, and then Gambia is such that everybody is connected. So the message is, President understands this, and that's why in his message it is more of, an admonition, giving people the impression that we are one, we are peaceful. In fact, he, pondered on the terminology of Gambia being called the smiling coast of Africa. You know, these are all good messages. Of course, they goes down to the hearts of people in this country. However, the complexity of a country, and then as the 21st century, it is a global village. The whole world is connected. People learn from one another. So other places, crimes and difficulties. So countries tend to, you know, contaminate one another. So it is very important that the Gambia also prepares more than just the anticipation that we are one family, and we are peaceful. So these are not permanent, you know, it's not permanent terminology.
Absolutely.
It changes, okay? So any day is a dynamic day. So, but what I know about the election is all attention right now is shifted on the voter registration, which is starting end of this month, this May. And then by then, people will be able to determine whether really the Gambia is on the right footing for December presidential election or not.
All right. Well, with that, I think we should bring an end this edition. But before we do, I would just allow you maybe, last word, if you may want to have anything that you want to conclude with, if I have something that I probably did not raise, and just allow you to do that.
Just to say that thank you very much for having me. You're doing great, and this Good Morning Africa is one of the programs I watch every day.
Thank you.
And the whole Gambia loves it. So we keep the quality, and then responsible journalism is what we also the whole world, because we are the Pan-African TV for the smiling coast of Africa.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Such a very motivational words there from if it's come from your senior, so that says a lot. So that means also a challenge for us to continue doing more as we endeavor to do. And we say thank you for coming as well, Price. It was good to have indeed in this morning's program to end the week also. Of course, I know many of you out there are still enjoying your Karate celebration. So, we're getting into the weekend. So we'll be back next week, Monday, inshallah, God willing, in another brand new week, of course, and a brand new edition of the program, where we will, of course, hope to bring some very other interesting matters and issues happening in and around the world to discuss about in this platform and many other platforms happening of course in Africa. Thank you so very much for being there, and I hope you have enjoyed the past moments with us. Of course, keep following our programs, and there's more coming ahead in today's program, of course, programming, and until we meet again, do have a very pleasant afternoon. Should I say no Ramadan now? I was nearly going to say Ramadan Kareem, but Juma Mubarak to all of you, and Dewenati, may we witness many of this, inshallah, until we meet on Monday. Do have a very good weekend. Bye for now.
They say we slept in one world and woke up in another. This global tragedy got humans together despite our social distancing. Our nature is taking a break. And giving us a wake-up call on what and who truly matters. Look around you. Hold on. Breathe. Count your blessings. Take time for self-renewal, for a better start tomorrow. Soon, life will be back. Meanwhile, let's stand apart together with one heart.